Hi, my name is Dr. Julia Britz. I'm a naturopathic doctor and I specialize in mental health. And today I want to talk to you about bioresonance because I love bioresonance. It's the coolest thing ever. And I'll go over a little bit of the history, how it works, when you might want to use it, and how it's different from traditional lab work. And I'll share a little bit about my story too of how I got into it because I also struggled with mental health disorders. And I think a lot of people with mental health disorders like OCD or anxiety, they want more answers. And I certainly did. So let's jump on in. So bioresonance testing is also called biofeedback or bioenergetic testing. I like the term bioresonance because it makes the most sense to me based on how it works. Now, if you haven't heard of it before, it can sound a bit out there. And actually, if you were to Google it, you're going to see things like, oh, it's quackery, rah. But to be fair, a lot of what you see on the web about naturopathic medicine, it's put in the quackery bank anyway. So a giant whatever there. But I was first introduced to it because I had severe OCD and I was told by my doctors like, oh, we're so sorry, you're not going to get better, but here, have some SSRIs and some therapy. And I was like, well, I'll take the therapy, but I don't want to take an SSRI. I was way too afraid of the side effects, so that wasn't going to happen for me. And the therapy was pretty helpful. I did ACT or acceptance and commitment therapy, and I'd say it got my symptoms down by maybe 20%, which was huge because at that time, I really wasn't functional. I wasn't able to go to school or keep a job, and a lot of my routines took a very, very long time to get through, like 8 showers a day, and it was just a lot, So, I digress. Bioresonance is a type of evaluation or scanning that uses electricity. Now, we are electrical beings. Our entire body functions because we have electrical stimulation that allows us, our muscles to work, like you can blink, your heart beats, all that stuff. It's all electrical. So the concept is like if we can interpret some of that electricity, maybe we can find out some information about what's going on with that person on an energetic, spiritual, emotional, physiological level. And I love that because as a naturopathic doctor, I really care about what's happening with the person, not just one set of symptoms they may have. So bioresonance testing has to do with the innate intelligence. The innate intelligence, you could think of that as the awareness of the conscious mind. This is different than the subconscious, which can store inaccurate or wrong data. So essentially what happens is a person will either touch the bioenergetic device, or maybe they put their hand on a scanner or hold some cathodes or rods. There's different ones out there. And that device will send electricity through that person. Most people can't feel it because the frequency is pretty low. And then different signatures are sent through the body. Like the one I have sends 150,000. And it's sent through the body looking for resonance. So maybe there's a signature for a certain type of pathogen. If it finds the exact same electrical signature somewhere in our body, in our DNA, it will let me know on the computer, which is just really, really cool. So I had a patient just a few weeks ago. She had pretty low copper is what it looked like on my bioresonance scan. And we ran her serum copper. It was also pretty low. And so sometimes, and that's where those labs are similar with functional or serum lab testing and bioresonance. You might get similar information. The difference is actually really important though, and I'll get to that in a second. So anyways, the electricity goes to the person and the scan is complete. The information goes back to a computer, and then whoever's running it can interpret the data. And the data can be very simple or it can be very complex. Now it's because a lot of these devices, they kind of range in price and a lot of technology. So some devices are about $100 and you might get just a few little bits of information. And then other devices are in the thousands of dollars and you might get quite a few lines of data. So it depends on that device. It also depends on how the device is maybe set up with the computer programming. And that's based on the practitioner and how they want to see it, how they're wanting to prioritize that. Because a lot of people ask me, oh, cool, that sounds really neat. I want one of those scans. Can I get a scan from someone in my area and have that information sent to you? And I usually tell people it's probably better to have the person doing the scan to interpret it because we all have our own way of analyzing the data. Now, that's actually pretty also similar in traditional lab work, because think of it like this way. If somebody had low iron levels, right, low serum iron, one doctor might look at that and go, okay, you've got low iron. Here, have an iron supplement. Another doctor might look at that and go, oh, wow, well, it's not that low. I wouldn't worry about it. You might just be on your period. Another doctor might look at that and go, oh, wow, it's low. I wonder why. Let's look and see if you've got some, internal bleeding or something. And so we all can take that information, interpret it a little bit differently, and that will actually influence our treatment plan. So same with this, we're getting a whole bunch of different data, but how we interpret it can also be. The other way that it's a little bit unique by our residents, that is because when a doctor is doing traditional lab work, which I love, by the way, they're looking for information based on their ego. Okay, you have all the symptoms consistent with anemia. Let's run an iron panel and a CBC. And maybe if that doctor has really good sense and experience and intuition, we may find what we're looking for in a lab pretty fast, either ruling something in or ruling out. However, if that ego takes us down maybe the wrong path, then it might mean that person has to stay sick a lot longer because we haven't really found the answer yet. Whereas with bioresonance testing, I'm not actually requesting any data. I'm not saying, hey, show me the iron information. I really can't, because all the information that comes back to me on my computer is based on that person's based on their resonating information. So when that electricity goes through and maybe there's a resonating data found, that information goes back to the computer. So I don't request it. It just, whatever is found, and I see it all together. So it's a little bit different. So that's why I love bioresonance so much, is because I want to get to the root cause and figure out why is this stuff happening, because it can make a bigger dent on this. And that was definitely true for me. That's why I got into this, because when I had first used bioresonance, I had super, super severe OCD, anxiety, depression, self-harm. I had really, really bad PMS, horrible insomnia, all that kind of stuff. And once, she tells me, hey, I don't know that we can get rid of the OCD entirely, but let's just get your body back in balance. And then let's see what clears up. And lo and behold, a month later, it's like a 180. And it's to the point where people did not believe I had OCD because I had gotten so much better. Only the people that knew me back then really understood what it was like for me. And that's why I got into this, because I was like, I have to be a doctor and do this, because it's just so much more individual. It's so cool.